All right, so we're back. We're talking about glassware. I just really wanted to ask you about the importance of glassware. Obviously, we've got a little selection here, and I know there's a ton more glasses, especially, I've seen a lot of glass you have behind the bar. But there's just a little selection of the glasses that you have here. Why so many different styles of glassware for beer? I mean, way more than there is for wine. In wine, there are definitely different selections. You have a flute glass for sparkling wine, and you've got larger glasses for red wines than smaller ones for white wines. And there's port glasses, which are really small, but it's really more towards the style of wine. Is that the truth here? Is it like more for the style of beer is why you change your glassware?
Well, mostly it is the style. Basically, over the years, people have determined that certain styles of glass complement the beer, allow you to get more of the flavor and more of the sensory experience that you want out of it.
Sure.
Again, like a lot of these beers have been made for 500 plus years, and some people take this very seriously. Their whole family's been doing it for hundreds, or not hundreds, but many generations. This is serious business to them, and they take it as seriously as anyone.
Beer people are just as serious as wine people. I mean, I'm running into some very serious beer people like yourself. So go ahead.
So basically, like I said, these people have been at it for a while. And I'm not exactly positive the background of every one of the stories, but this one here, this is what we would pour a wheat beer, which is also known as a Weiss beer. I can't exactly say for sure why they made this one, that this became the most popular style to serve wheat beer in. It does work very well. Wheat beers, though, are very light, and they're supposed to be refreshing. They come in a large serving, ½ liter at a time, which, of course, you need a large glass for that. But you don't really expect to get a lot of the nose out of it. There's not really a lot of body behind it. So I've always suspected that probably a lot of it had to do with what was available, where they were making the beer at the time. Like, just as an example, let's say a brewery that started 400 years ago had a glass factory next door, and they had a surplus of glasses. A lot of times things will happen like that. It'll just be a need. They'll get filled and stick.
So I mean, they're all unique looking. I mean, I love, and I've seen this before where you have like this almost like this twisted shape to like these grooves in the glass. I've seen that a lot. I mean, I have to think that has to do with aerating the beer and helping out with the aromas that come out from the beer.
And it's also to help make it stand out from its competitors. And you notice that they'll have a logo on it.
Right.
And the reasoning behind that is, say you're at the bar, you're sitting there, you're having fun with your friends, and somebody walks in and sees you laughing and chuckling. Maybe you got a pretty girl with you, and they say, "Hey, they've got a Hacker Shore. I want one also." That way they can tell. It's basically advertising, and you're doing it for them. And I mean, again, it's beats me having to buy glasses, and it gets to be served the way they want it to be, and also give them a little extra attention along the way.
There's nothing I hate more than when I order a Hacker Shore and I'm hoping for it in a Hacker Shore glass, and I get it in some other, like with some other logo on it. I mean, I want it to be. I like consistency, and I think that's a cool thing that you brought up.
Well, we do the best we can, and
you certainly have the glassware for it.
We've had some dirty dish mishaps. Maybe I'll have to put yours in a corner once in a while, but we do the best we can.
Okay.
Now this one here, this is kind of a neat one. It's from the Reisdorf Kolsch. They are a beer from Cologne, Germany. It's a very light. It's actually a hybrid of styles between an ale and a lager.
Okay.
This is how it would be served for you by yourself.
Okay.
But in Cologne especially, they have a big tray which will have these test tube sized bottles. About, I think there's 13 of them around the like a carousel, and the servers will come and just fill all 13 of them up and leave you on your own.
I think you've got one of those.
We do have one. I took it out of there. So I use this around here for sharing samples with my friends now. It's my biggest use for it, but once in a while I'll break it out for a group.
Just real quick, very rudimentary. Difference between two styles of beer is lager and an ale. Ale is top fermented and lager is bottom fermented?
Exactly correct, yeah.
Thank you.
This next one here I chose only because it's very unique, and I think this really shows the whole idea of marketing, where it has a stand. It really it stands out in front of everybody. You can't miss it. You're going to say, what is that thing he's got there? Now, as you can see here, this actually has a round bottom. Now, the idea of giving drunk people glasses that won't stand up on their own is among the most foolish things I've come across in my life.
Well, drunk people won't stand up on their own either.
That's right. See, why give them a glass that needs a stand? But again, it comes to marketing. It's like, now this is a nice glass for the beer. It does have the wide open top there, and I mean, But more or less, I really feel that it's mostly to get your attention, to have somebody ask you. And it does. One of the best things that happens here is when somebody will engage me, ask me a question, because once they do, I can hopefully make their experience a little better here.
This looks like a yard or a half yard. I mean, it looks like a miniaturized half yard. And I know when you take it out, like if you're going to drink something like this, when you drink a yard, you kind of have to twist it. And if you don't want it to get all over your face, same thing or no?
No, the beer that's in here is actually not made to be chugged. It's a pretty it's a dark Abbey ale. It's not very heavy, but it's not for swilling. It definitely has something you want to savor a little bit.
Okay.
I found that this narrow middle causes it to like agitate and foam up a little bit, and the beer itself actually comes in roughly a 12-ounce serving. This glass looks like it should hold well more than it, but basically the way it is when you pour it, with that agitation that comes through there, it's going to fill almost perfectly with a good head on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure people still do try to chug this, despite whether that's the intention or not from the glassware. I'm sure they still try.
And maybe the beer's so good they can't help it.
That's right. That's right. All right. What else?
All right. Well, the last two we discussed a little bit earlier. We talked about tulip glasses and chalices. This is a classic tulip glass. This is exactly the most perfect one that's widely distributed with a name on it. This is from the Duvel company, and as you can see, it's very much like a cognac glass. It rounds in, it holds a lot at the bottom, and especially this beer itself, Duvel, is known for a strong, rocky head. When you pour it in here correctly, you're going to get a very thick head that's going to fill up to the top. This is actually like about a 16-ounce glass, although again the beer is a 12-ounce roughly. They do metrics in Belgium, of course, and but it makes it perfect. And also at the bottom, can't see it too well here, but it's got a little agitator, and it's shaped like the D as in Duvel from the first letter of the name. And it's kind of a neat thing to be able to discuss to somebody when they're trying it for the first time. You have a little extra to tell them, and having a little story about the beer itself seems to make it taste better, at least in my opinion. And this is the alternate one, and we've spoken a little bit about that earlier. The chalice or goblet, sometimes known as. These are usually used for lighter beers that aren't as important to have the scent, to have all the nose in it, but you still want to get it wide open. It's probably just like you guys were telling me recently about letting their red wines oxidize a little bit.
Absolutely.
Same idea there.
If you expand the surface area of the wine, imagine the same thing with beer. If you expand the surface area, it opens up faster.
Well, I really would expect that to be very much the desired effect. And again, a large logo across the front, which you could be a guy at a bar drinking a nondescript glass and nobody will say a word to you. But when you have something like that, people want to be your friend.
You're a rock star.
Yeah, absolutely.
In wine, you don't want to hold it like this because it's going to warm up the wine. Same thing with beer. You want to hold it down here?
Right. Unless one thing I find is sometimes it's a little too cold from the get-go, and you'll a lot of times see me holding a beer that's just been served like this because I just can't wait.
Yeah.
Just can't wait.
All right, good. Well, very good. I think that does it for us. I think, God, Mark, a fantastic guest for us, knows a lot about wine. I think it's going to be a two-part episode, but really talked a lot about wine, about beer here. Fantastic place, the International Beer Garden in Lutz, on State Road 54, 10th of a mile east of the Suncoast Parkway. I hope a lot of people come out and check out Mark's place. Great, great place. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Appreciate you.
Take care.
Thank you.